Today I'm going to share with you 19 things, natural things you can do to heal your adrenal glands and reverse adrenal fatigue. For those of you who don't know, the adrenal glands are basically thumb-sized glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And they are like the pharmacy of your body because they produce over 50 hormones that drive almost every bodily function, many of which are essential to life. Some of the signs and symptoms of adrenal fatigue include being very tired in the morning even though you've slept enough, just general fatigue all throughout the day, poor concentration, poor memory, thyroid issues, especially low functioning thyroid because the thyroid is very much connected to the functioning of the adrenal glands, storing excess body fat, insomnia, low blood pressure, dizziness, dark circles underneath your eyes, puffiness underneath your eyes, and craving for salt, etc. Over 80% of people will experience adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion at some point in their lives. And this is because we are exposed to so much stress in so many different shapes and forms, and our bodies have not been designed to sustain so much stress. So here we go, 19 natural things you can do to heal your adrenals.
Throne of the inner temple.
Number 1, you want to stop taking stimulants that overwork your adrenal glands. Because when you're suffering from adrenal insufficiency, when you don't have energy, the last thing you want to do is force your adrenal glands to produce more energy. It's kind of like an exhausted donkey. If you beat it, sure, it will move. It will serve you. But what the donkey really needs is to relax and rest and drink some water, maybe some food. It needs love and care. And once it receives that, then it can serve you so much better, with so much more energy without having to be beaten. And so what you need to do is actually relax and get off of all those stimulants. Now, the top 2 stimulants we consume these days is caffeine and sugar. Now, if you need to take coffee every day, if you're consuming coffee many times a day, you need to tone it down. You need to get off of coffee because essentially what happens is every time you drink coffee, the caffeine stimulates your adrenal glands to produce adrenaline, which causes you to remain in a constant state of alert. And over time, this will cause your adrenals to burn out. Now, there are many different kinds of stimulants. Like I said, sugar is a stimulant, green tea is a stimulant. Although green tea is a good alternative that you can use to help you transition off of coffee temporarily. We have dark chocolate, we have energy drinks, we have nicotine in cigarettes, etc., etc. Now, the occasional stimulant is okay. It's actually a great tool. If you need to get some work done, if you're driving and you don't want to pass out, you just don't want to have to depend on it because on the long term, these stimulants will basically burn out your adrenal glands. And this leads us to number 2, which is sleep. You want to try and get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if you can afford to, try and get more than that. Now, most importantly, you want to try to go to bed shortly after sunset. And this is because the hours before midnight are best for replenishing and healing the body. And according to ancient traditional Chinese medicine, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. is the time frame within which the adrenals are replenished. So you want to go to bed by like 8:30.
Nobody sleeps at 8:30 these days.
I know, but do your best. Try to get into the habit of sleeping early. Number 3, taking adaptogenic herbs is a wonderful way of supporting your adrenal glands and helping them heal, because adaptogenic herbs are a unique class of healing plants which help you respond to stress, which help you adapt to stress, normalizing your physiological functions. Now, my top favorite adaptogenic herbs, which I like to recommend to my patients, is rhodiola, ashwagandha, holy basil, licorice root, and Siberian ginseng. Number 4, you want to reduce the amount of toxic chemicals that you are exposed to. And the most significant source is your diet. So you want to really clean up your diet, eat wholesome and natural foods as much as possible, and stay away from processed foods. Foods that have been made in a factory, that have been created by man, adulterated by man, etc., etc. Now, other sources of toxicity, chemical toxicity, is the water we drink, pharmaceuticals, vaccinations, household chemicals, beauty products and hygiene products, pollution, radiation, etc., etc. All these toxins and poisons cause inflammation in the human body, which then causes the adrenals to produce cortisol, which is the body's #1 most potent anti-inflammatory. And so over time, when we're exposed to all these toxins, the adrenals wear out. As you become conscious of all the toxins that you are exposed to, and you reduce your exposure to them, it's also a great idea to detoxify and purify your body with detoxification programs and fasting and the help of a detoxification specialist. So you will be purifying your body of years and decades of accumulated toxins and heavy metals, thereby reducing the toxic chemical burden on your adrenal glands. Number 5, you want to address any emotional stress that you may be experiencing. Now, emotional stress, in my opinion, is the most threatening form of stress because unlike any other form of stress, you can experience emotional stress all throughout the day because of unhealthy mental patterns. Your body will be in sympathetic mode, in fight or flight mode, in stress mode all throughout the day, many times a day, thereby burning out your adrenal glands. And so a great exercise is to actually write out everything that is bothering you. It could be a relationship, it could be your work, it could be a tough decision you need to make in life. And some of the greatest tools you can use to change your perception in these negative mental patterns and your emotions is professional therapy, is prayer and meditation. And I'm not talking about prayer and meditational programs created by man, but rather prayer and meditation that has been revealed by the divine prophets of God, which are most effective in changing our perception of reality and producing positive emotions. Number 6, you want to reduce your amount of physical stress. Especially if you're suffering from adrenal insufficiency, the last thing you want to do is overexert yourself. So you want to stay away from long hours at the gym, crazy amounts of cardio, heavy bodybuilding, marathons, etc., etc. You want to explore instead gentle exercises that will relax you, such as walking in nature, yoga, and other simple exercises. I would definitely not advise these intense programs such as P90X, which are very fashionable today, because although on the short term they will make you feel good and high, on the long term it will knock you out. Number 7, you want to spend more time in nature. Nature is the best de-stressor. Whenever you go out in nature, you instantly disconnect from all the stress going on in your life, in your relationships, at work, at school, and you minimize your exposure to all the chemical stress, to all the pollution and all the toxins of modern day living and of the city, basically. And so when you're in nature, you are surrounded by pure oxygen, with sunlight, with the birds tweeting, with food and fruits on trees. And so, yeah, definitely spending more time in nature, highly recommended. Your adrenals will love you for it. Okay, so number 8, you want to look into nutritional balancing by taking a hair tissue mineral analysis. In the science of hair tissue mineral analysis, we have the adrenal gland ratio, or the stress ratio, which is basically the sodium to potassium ratio. Now, when you get yours done, your practitioner will be able to tell you what stage of stress you're at. If you are in the beginning stages of stress, then your sodium levels will be high in relation to your potassium levels, which intensifies your response to stress and which will eventually burn out your adrenal glands. If you're in the later stages of stress, your sodium levels will be very low. If you've basically sustained a lot of stress in your life and your adrenal glands have already been burned out. So doing the HTMA analysis is very important so that you can assess and check out where you're at in your stage of stress, and so that your practitioner can help you put together a program which will heal your adrenals and basically help you restore that healthy ratio. And the other cool thing about the HTMA analysis is that you can retake it every 4 or 5 months and monitor the progress of your adrenals. Number 9, if you're suffering from adrenal fatigue, you want to abstain from sex and masturbation temporarily until your adrenal glands are healed. See, sex is one of the most stressful activities for the human body. And under stress, once again, your adrenal glands have to produce cortisol. When you add all this cortisol up from all the other stresses in your life, chemical stress, emotional stress we talked about, physical stress, and now sexual stress, it all adds up. And all this cortisol in the body, when it builds up in the human body, there are pathological consequences. And one of the main side effects of the overproduction of cortisol is chronic fatigue. There are many people these days who have basically abused their sexuality because of the advent of pornography and so many sex messages coming at us from every direction, because sex sells. And that's where most people get their self-worth. And by flaunting their sexuality. And so our desire is blown out of the roof, and we need to masturbate and have sex so many times a day. And this is not normal. Just because you desire it doesn't mean that it is natural and normal. The body cannot handle so many orgasms, essentially. And basically, the adrenal glands, they produce all the hormones in the body, over 50 hormones. And they produce all the glucocorticoids, all the mineralocorticoids, but they also produce all these sex hormones, which are produced and released when you have sex. Some of them being prolactin, oxytocin, dopamine, etc. And so when you are engaged in the act more than you should, you're basically draining your adrenal glands. And so abstinence is key through control, not through suppression. Number 10, hydration is extremely important for people suffering from adrenal fatigue, because the adrenal glands lose their ability to produce aldosterone. And aldosterone is a steroid hormone, one of the main mineralocorticoids that the adrenals produce. And aldosterone is responsible for retaining water, for regulating water, for retaining sodium, for maintaining your blood pressure. And so what you want to do is make sure you have water with you at all times. Make sure you are properly hydrated. Always look out for signs of dehydration, dry skin, dry mouth, being thirsty, a lot of wrinkles, constipation, etc., etc. Now, you want to also supplement with sea salt, because when we look at the hair tissue mineral analysis, people suffering from adrenal fatigue have very, very low amounts of sodium. And so by supplementing with sodium, that will help you retain water. That will increase your blood pressure until the time your adrenals are healed and they can produce proper amounts of aldosterone, which will basically help you with all of that stuff, retaining water, increasing blood pressure, and retaining sodium. Number 11, taking synthetic steroids will induce adrenal insufficiency. And these are the steroidal medications that you would take orally, you would inject, you would inhale, you would take intranasally, you would put on your skin topically. Some examples are your prednisones, Accutane, steroids and allergy medications, inhalers for allergies, and different creams that you would rub on your body. So for, psoriasis and eczema and all that kind of stuff. The longer these synthetic steroids are taken and the stronger the dose, the more suppressive will they be to the adrenal glands, and they can cause full adrenal insufficiency. And so many users, even after having stopped these steroids, even after 6 months, they will still experience adrenal insufficiency. And so you don't want to head down that path. And if you already have, then by implementing these natural techniques to heal your adrenals, you can gradually wean yourself off of these synthetic steroids, which suppress the adrenals, obviously with the help and supervision of your doctor. Number 12, I highly recommend glandular therapy. Now, vegans aren't going to like this because it basically consists of taking or consuming the glands or organs of an animal in order to support that very same organ or gland in a human being. Now, animal glandulars have been used very successfully for thousands of years, and today they are used in many medical systems in the world. This dates back to the time of Hippocrates. Hippocrates said, if a person has a weak liver, give liver. For weak kidneys, give kidney. And so you can buy these glandulars at health food stores. You can get them from your holistic practitioners, from your chiropractor, from your naturopath, from your homeopath. So I highly recommend glandulars because they have proven to be very effective. Number 13, if you enjoy playing violent video games and watching horror movies, and if you love going on roller coaster rides and you give into fear-based media and all that stuff, you gotta tone it down. Because whenever you experience strong emotions such as fear and excitement from these activities, your adrenals produce adrenaline, which at first feels great, but then it all adds up. With the coffee, the adrenaline from the coffee that you're drinking. When I used to play these violent video games, I used to play Counter-Strike, such a great game, eh? I used to be in a constant state of alert and anxiety and fear. And so if you're playing these video games for hours a day and watching these movies, then you're going to drain your adrenal glands, basically. And a lot of people, they seek out fear and horror movies and these experiences because they're addicted to the adrenaline that is released. So that's something else to consider. What you want to do is get involved in activities that calm you down, that relax you, that put you in the parasympathetic mode instead of the stress mode. Because when you are in the parasympathetic mode, that is when your body can heal itself and repair itself. Okay, number 14. I know I kind of referred to this, but I need to mention it again because it's really important, and I see so many people doing this, which is basically exercising at night. You don't want to do that because it really puts a lot of pressure on the adrenal glands. That goes for any other stimulatory activities at night. Basically, you want to be in bed at night and resting. If you're dancing at night, if you're eating, even eating food late at night is not recommended for people with adrenal fatigue because once again, the adrenals are involved in practically every bodily function and processes. So if you're eating late at night, once again, you're causing the adrenals to work when they should be resting. Number 15, nutritional deficiency really wears out the adrenal glands. And I know that most people think they are not nutritionally deficient because, they eat relatively healthy and they eat a vast array of foods. We live in North America, there's not a shortage of food, etc., etc. But putting that aside, putting the whole diet aspect of nutrition aside, stress actually depletes the body of key minerals such as zinc, potassium, and magnesium. So if you've experienced a lot of stress in your life, emotional stress, physical stress, maybe some trauma, maybe some shock in your life in your childhood, your body has been depleted early on of zinc, magnesium, and potassium. And then that causes a cascade of mineral dysregulation because they are all interconnected. And when these key minerals are depleted in your body, that allows for the accumulation to toxic levels of other minerals because once again, they are all interconnected and there are relationships between them. And some are antagonists and some work together, etc., etc. And so this mineral toxicity, one of the most popular ones being copper toxicity, especially in women, places a lot of stress on the adrenals, on the thyroid, etc., etc. And so working with a nutritional balancing practitioner, I highly recommend it. One that specializes in hair tissue mineral analysis. They can help you regulate all your minerals and bring them to healthy levels. It can take months, sometimes it will take years, but you can monitor the progress by retaking the hair tissue mineral analysis. Number 16, if you are supplementing with vitamin D, I would recommend not doing so until you have your vitamin D levels actually checked to see if you actually need it, and then taking the proper dose, because if you take too much, then we learn in orthomolecular medicine that vitamin D is antagonist to potassium and it will crash your potassium levels. And you can see this in the hair tissue mineral analysis. When your potassium levels are crashed, the ratio of sodium to potassium will be very high. That stress ratio, that adrenal ratio we talked about earlier. And so when that happens, your stress response will be intensified, and this places a lot of added stress to the adrenal glands. In addition to that, it also increases your magnesium burn rate. You begin to lose magnesium, you begin to lose zinc and potassium, and so the whole cascade of mineral dysregulation will add added stress to your adrenal glands. I know that in some countries, especially during the winter months, there is very little sunshine, but ideally you want to get your vitamin D from the sun, because that way your body will convert exactly the amount that it needs, and there is no danger in overdosing, which will then crash your potassium levels and intensify your stress response. Number 17, you want to do your best to maintain a stabilized blood sugar level, because your adrenals are responsible for regulating your blood sugar levels. And if you're experiencing a lot of highs and lows throughout the day, that's just another form of stress that your adrenals have to deal with. You want to avoid, junk, refined pastries and sugary foods that have refined carbohydrates, which cause a spike in your sugar levels and then cause you to crash. You want to instead take complex carbohydrates, maybe mix it with healthy fats, so that you get that gradual release of energy. And you want to avoid starving yourself. You want to avoid eating too much food on the other hand, even eating too much healthy food, a very big proportion. The more you eat of anything, the higher will that meal be in its glycemic index. So you want to basically eat smaller portions but more frequently throughout the day. You want to avoid going on different crazy diets, yo-yoing diets, and binging. That is extremely stressful to the adrenals. Maybe you want to explore fasting, intermittent fasting, also known as religious fasting. In the Baha'i faith, we have intermittent fasting, and during this fast, the body goes into ketogenic mode, which is basically burning fat as the primary fuel instead of glucose. And so that allows the adrenals to rest quite a bit. So just being more conscious of all the sugar you're taking in and trying to maintain a smooth blood sugar level will definitely help your adrenals recover. Number 18, look out for chronic illness, repeated infections, and inflammation. Even low-grade inflammation will cause your adrenals to wear out, because your adrenals will have to produce cortisol all the time, which is the body's natural anti-inflammatory. And by doing so, it's going to get exhausted. One thing you can do is test for inflammatory biomarkers via a blood test. And you can also work with any holistic practitioner to help boost your immune system so that you can resolve any infection, any chronic illness, or any inflammation that is going on. You can work with traditional Chinese practitioners, with homeopaths, naturopaths, chiropractors, nutritional balancing practitioners, detoxification specialists, orthomolecular practitioners. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth looking into. And finally, number 19, do what you love and surround yourself with people that you love, because when you are in a state of joy and happiness and you're feeling the love and you have a sense of purpose and there's laughter everywhere, there's nothing better than that for the adrenal glands. So that is it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this video serves you. Truly, life is about energy. And if we don't have energy, if we're chronically fatigued, we can't pursue our calling. We can't do what we love. We can't be there for our friends and our family. We're constantly going to be, groggy. So that's why I think this information is so important. So please share it with your friends and your family. And if you have any other ideas or discoveries on natural ways to heal the adrenal glands, please make a comment below, because I'd love to learn about it, and I'm sure others would as well. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Detoxification, natural hygiene, alternative medicine, and the things we eat. Throne of the inner temple.